it consists of colleagues from DIA, Pharma, HR, the business. We have Latin America, Africa, and Europe with all of its sub-regions. And the way it came together was some kind of crowdsourcing, because I felt that people really need to be inspirational about that and really want to work on this. And as a result, there were almost 80 people who were interested to contribute. And to not let go of this momentum that obviously is existing in the organization, we created a community, as you can see on the right-hand side, that actually covers the whole globe. Now, with this community, we ideate, we shape our ideas, they challenge us, we involve them in experiments, research, and so forth. And we believe that to have a global community for this topic, although this is a EMEA LATAM strategy stream, makes a lot of sense, because the idea is to become a talent magnet and hub, and that naturally has impact on all other regions and all other parts of the business as well. Now, the logic, if you go to the next slide, the logic that we were following was first to look into the needs and the challenges. And actually challenges have been identified in various work streams, both within HR, but also within TransformD. So for instance, there's a lot of fragmentation. There's no real framework on how we tackle this from a Roche group or even divisional perspective. The pipeline, although it might look green, turns out in reality not so green in individual cases. We have a clear potential improvement in diversity. We are sitting on some data, but we have a lack of data consistency or even utilizing the data that we have for certain decisions in this area. Engagement has potential for improvement, especially when it comes to leadership. So we can see this both in internal data, but also in external data in the market. Or as one data point, if you think about that, our higher level leaders actually have a 50-50 creative to reactive score. And then, of course, sustainability is hugely important, especially in two areas. A, when it comes into how do we invest our money and what is the payout, if you will. And then secondly, when we look into the future, we have to really guide these investments into the younger generation that will take on the helm at some point of time. Now, I also want to say that there's actually great tools and individual elements available across the globe, and we make sure that we collect all of these and not double indent, but rather utilize what is available already on the market. And in terms of need, we have heard from basically all other sprints that there's a huge need to sort of elevate this talent and people investment onto the next level. And I think it's very logical. If people are at the core of what we are doing and deliver value to patients, customers, and the healthcare system, we also need to provide value to our people. And it's very important that the needs, of course, change from generation to generation. Now, the approach that we have taken is to, we want to strengthen when people are at their best. We also want to remove barriers to have more access to this highly valuable equity of ours. Neuroscience has demonstrated that the most effective method to invest in people is to focus on experiential learning. And also, we want to increase the exposure of talent. And then lastly, as talents become leaders, they have a huge impact on talents themselves and development. And so we are aiming to increase the leadership effectiveness and the leadership impact through reflection, which again is scientifically proven the most effective tool for that. So based on that, our product vision is on the next slide. We aim to create in service of patients and the society with our groundbreaking talent discovery and leadership development framework to unleash everybody's potential to the fullest, and thus growing highly potent, fully engaged, diverse leaders who are delivering the highest value for our stakeholders. So this is the product vision in a nutshell. And now I hand it over to Joanne to provide you a bit more details on what we have been working so far.
Thanks, Uli. So as you can imagine, invest in people and grow talent is a massive scope. And we had many ideas, and we could have been here all afternoon sharing them with you. But we really wanted to focus in on what our thinking and ideas, our top thinking and ideas are so far, because we've only actually had 3 sprints together. So we've purposely not gone into full-on solution mode just yet, as it then focuses on one solution, and we felt that that would stop the creativity and developing and refining our ideas further. We've also taken a bit of a systematic approach, right through from how do we attract diverse talent into Roche, identify them, grow that talent and talent pool, and also define the role of leadership in that talent development. So I'll take you through the ideas so far, and some of my colleagues are going to chip in and share some more of these ideas and how we might enable them. And we'll cover the initiatives under strategic themes. So you can see the first one coming up here, attract. And we've created what we would say is a truth or principle that's future focused and aspirational. And then we have some ideas of how we think we might achieve that and the impact that could be made. And we've tried to be bold in some cases. And some of this you might be thinking, actually, that doesn't look so bold. But actually, it's not that we're asking for a flip, perhaps in the priority, or a change in how we invest from what we do currently. So firstly, we're looking at attract. We want to fill the funnel of talent within Roche, and really we want to have a differentiated talent development programme that makes Roche as an organisation stand out from the crowd. So current talent development is focused a bit more on traditional methods and learning, and there is a small percentage who get to experience something different and more experiential, a bit like NGOA. We feel that the balance of investment should be made more towards experiential learning, and this is something we can definitely do locally and regionally, as well as hopefully they will look at a global level. And taking this a step further, to diversify the development, we could partner with other organisations to exchange talent, and that's not necessarily within our industry. It's probably actually better to be outside of it. And finally, we have an idea where we think we have a desire to interlink our talent development programme with our CSR strategy, corporate social responsibility, for a bit of a win-win situation in terms of how we develop talent and also how we give back to our community. And Brian's going to describe that for you in a moment in a little bit more detail. And what impact and value we think that brings is that Roche attracts and retains not only the best, but the most diverse talent in our industry and beyond. So Brian, if you could talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, thanks, Joanne. So as Uli mentioned, neuroscience has confirmed that experiential learning is one of the best ways to develop new creative approaches. And when we looked at some of the colleagues and had discussions with them who have participated in NGEA, they've shared that the impact from their experience was close to 5 times greater than that of the typical development curriculum. So imagine a program that blends our need to invest in talent with our CSR strategy. Think of a rising star you know who wants to develop their skills in communication or leadership, and they access the NGEA development platform. They answer a few questions on those development areas, and up pops local, regional, and global opportunities to develop a partnership together with NGOs or nonprofit organizations, and as Joanne said, perhaps other organizations that are interested in achieving the same goal. Now, imagine the impact that that rising star can have on real change in our communities while developing their capabilities for Roche. And I think the most important thing in attracting talent is think of the talents that we'll attract when they hear of the unique way Roche develops their people on a daily basis.
Thanks, Brian. And so once we've attracted this diverse talent into Roche, we need to find them. Right, we're a big organisation and we're certainly a big region, so we need to be able to find them. And we feel the current system perhaps doesn't do this adequately enough. And furthermore, some managers get a little bit protective around their talent, which probably stifles a bit of the development, the value we get from them, but it could also stifle their visibility and opportunities in terms of retaining them within the organisation. So what we would like to see is that Roche has full flexibility. Sorry, our slide's a little bit incorrect. That should be identified. Fiona, can you go down and see if it's just the wrong way around? Yeah, so what we want to happen is everyone knows who our talent is and what talent means at Roche. So really, by redesigning the talent management programme, we can give full transparency so everyone can understand what it means to be a talent in the EMEA LATAM organisation. What does it actually mean? How do we define that? Because then you're getting better quality talent into your programme. And also by giving transparency of who these people are. It's not just theoretical. You're then starting to see conceptually what that would look like, but also who the people are and who are living that sort of behaviour. And hopefully then what you would see is that people would then model themselves that. So that would really replicate the positive behaviours that you would want to see. And we would like to see some form of sort of talent passport that has a much more 360 view on our talent and uses our data more effectively to be able to create that passport. And access to this system should be by some form of nomination based on that defined criteria, and not as reliant on managers, but so we can create a more equitable access with an unbiased nomination system, which this is to be defined. But if you're going to open that up and make people more reflective and more responsible for at least nominating themselves into this talent programme, we really need to increase the emotional intelligence of our talent. Feedback is a massive part of that. Feedback, self-awareness and self-reflection are all critical components in developing the emotional intelligence for personal and professional success. Now, feedback is definitely increasing in this organisation, but by creating a more systematic and event-based feedback based on the creative competencies, it could have more impact by having relevant feedback in the moment, rather than what a lot of us experience is at the end of your review getting 25 feedback requests for interactions that you perhaps had earlier in the year, where you've lost the real opportunity to capitalise on it. And we feel we could take that feedback culture a step further in the region by why don't we give everyone a mentor? So from day one in this organisation, you get a mentor. So you have a sounding board from day one in Roche to help you shape your career at Roche, help you change, and that mentor can change as your career progresses and really create that feedback culture from day one. And that doesn't necessarily need to be someone who's more senior or even someone who's in your local organisation, but that could be someone from anywhere in Roche. And what we'd hopefully mean is that Roche would then have an enriched and reflective, and I say increased talent pool, that doesn't necessarily mean increase in numbers, but increase in value and quality. And if you think of a sales funnel, you want to fill it full, but then you want to bring the right people through and invest in them through an equitable and accessible system. And yeah, I think, and Somali is going to talk a little bit more about how talent could get that access by creating openness for talent to access that system themselves.
Thank you, Joanne. Sorry, guys, my video is not working. So we were actually looking at re-engineering the talent management process and feedback culture that ensures that the employee identifies and self-assigns to programs that will allow for their visibility and development, and thus eliminates the potential manager bias and or the talent stifling that may exist. This, we acknowledge, will by no means be a small feat and would require a flex team, as it would need to be applied at the local, regional, and possibly at a global level to be of any, to bear meaningful fruit. So the purpose of this re-engineering, we were looking at ensuring that the rising star that Brian was speaking of should not be confined or boxed by their job description or role, gender and or location, to ensure that they are visible and have the necessary exposure that is needed. So that's what we were actually looking at.
Thanks, Somali. And just to keep me and all of us on our toes, I'll go back to the next thing. So once we've identified that talent, we really need to look at how we grow that talent. And what we really, this is about growing the available talent pool in terms of feeding it, but also as growing the talent within that pool. And what we want to see is full flexibility in our investment in talent and gaining maximum value from that current and future talent pool. And we've identified some of what we would see as barriers to almost like filling the funnel in terms of our talent. And that one of the big areas that flagged up was around mobility. So we assess people on will, skill, and mobility. But if you aren't mobile, then currently you can't really even access the talent programme as it stands today. Now, mobility is very relevant for many roles within Roche. But one thing I think this pandemic has probably shown us is that we can work differently and we can introduce more flexibility. We are suggesting by deprioritising mobility as the access point, then you can then open up the funnel to your talent pool to a much larger audience as you then seek to bring it through. But as you open up that audience much further, it gives you a bigger pool of experienced people, but also people with high potential. And where this experience, where you often see decisions made, where experience takes priority and maybe limits the exposure of consideration of talent and roles, how can we increase that risk-taking in selecting talents? And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the leadership topic. But we also want to have more collaboration, and a workforce with more system understanding will hopefully accelerate collaboration and transformation. And we felt by asking leaders or talents, and we're not talking people leaders here, we're talking matrix leadership as well, to dedicate 20% of their time to work outside their native role. That could build that system knowledge and bring more diversity to the topics that that are being tackled. And taking it a step further, with the assumption at a certain level that leadership capabilities should outweigh functional expertise, can you increase your agility even further? Now, this next idea I'm going to put out there, this did not sit comfortably with all our group. It felt really quite uncomfortable, but we felt, why not? We want to show the diversity of our thinking, so we're going to share it. But if we're saying that...
Joanne, I just want to let you know it's 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, thank you. So could we, at a certain level in leadership, make roles non-fixed? And what I mean by that is, could you be rotated to another part of the organisation? So you move into a leadership role, but that leadership role does not stay as a leader of the organisation that you join in some way. And you can even do that locally, or you could do that regionally. But for example, currently I'm Director of Technical Services in the UK, but could I be moved to a role of Director of Sales or Marketing as an example? And what that will hopefully mean is that with an agile, knowledgeable and collaborative talent pool, then certainly our customer experience and success will grow, because we'll be harnessing the potential in our talent and retaining the very best. And Santiago is going to talk a little bit more about where that 20% idea came from.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joanne. So I want to share with you a personal experience. So before joining Roche, I was pursuing my MBA. And back then I recall that around 80% of the students, they were pursuing a career in consulting. Now, when I look at my career in Roche, I see that thanks to the Business Perspective program, I've been able to somehow do the same kind of work. I've been able to work in different projects and change every 6 months. Now, when I put things into perspective, I understand the importance that this had into my personal growth, right? In addition to this, I have to say that when I was in my preparation to contribute to this work stream, I read a couple of articles about how companies like Google or Adobe, they were encouraging their employees to pursue a personal development beyond their job descriptions. Now, when I look at Roche, I see that we have already started doing this through initiatives like New Ways of Working, right? We see as a team that this is a good starting point, and we want to build on this and bring this initiative to the next level. And we believe that we can do that by making sure that our employees, they have this space for working on the flex teams or working on their personal development and eventually pursuing a career beyond their job description. We see a lot of benefits behind these kind of initiatives, like bringing the silos down, accountability, engagement, motivations, and a lot of benefits that at the end of the day translate into serving the customer to our best of our capabilities.
Thank you, Santiago. And finally, we want to talk about the leadership role, and we're looking at that as Inspire, where really the leadership catalyzes and diversifies talent in the organisation. Our leaders really in Roche are the greatest investment in our people and talent, and we would like them to really increase their effectiveness and what they could do in the role of developing talent. So no matter where you are in Roche, you deserve the same leadership experience as an employee, and certainly no matter where you are in our EMEA LATAM region. So we could better define what one version of the truth looks like. We have VAC, LCP, leadership commitments, people practices, to name a few. So what could that look like? That definition should also spell out what your accountabilities and responsibilities are in developing people around you in Roche. So not just your direct reports, or not just people you're leading in a project team, but for the future success of the organisation, we're all succession planners. And we also feel that some of the limitations we described already, perhaps around the decision making and risk taking and what we do with talent, comes from unconscious bias. So bias is human nature, and we're not going to try and tell you that we know how to change that. But we think by making it more conscious in our leaders in Roche, then that will make them more critically analyse and think about the decisions they make, which might lead to more diverse or, I guess, less safe decisions around talent. So aligning everything we talked about enabling talent to own their own development, the feedback culture already described. The other missing piece we think is a coaching capability, that every leader in Roche should be a coach to every person. And we would ask for a programme and investment to embed this capability into our leaders in the region, which should result in us building a more assertive, autonomous and resilient workforce and act as a quality assurance for our future success. And Michelle's just going to describe quite briefly a little bit more about what coaching development could look like.
Thanks, Joanne. So we
all say 5 minutes to go.
Yep. So Roche is a leader in personalized healthcare, and we ensure the right treatment for the right people at the right time because everyone is different. And in an agile organization, we don't just create value for shareholders, but also for customers and our employees. And so if we apply this principle internally, looking to our leaders, then they're also very unique and different, right? There are different stages of their growth and development. So while we offer workshops and courses in VACC and whatnot, we do not offer depth or provide personal interventions or even experiential learning for these leaders. And if we're really serious about having leaders who can lead in an agile world, then shouldn't we personalize leadership development? Genentech, Google, Workday, AT Kearney, LinkedIn are already doing this. How? They provide unlimited personalized coaching supported by insights and analytics to their people, leaders. They partner with external vendors such as BetterUp or MoveOne to provide coaching access to all of their leaders. The results is increased productivity, retention, agility, engagement, and resilience, to name a few. And for Roche, the real impact of providing coaching for all leaders is that we'll have consistent, quality, local, regional, global leaders who inspire all their people to boldly innovate, collaborate, and create better outcomes for patients. So that's for coaching. Back to you, Joanne.
Thanks, Michelle. And just to sum up, so as part of our learning cycle, I'd now welcome your contribution to our ideas so far. Any questions you have to understand them better? We are going into a sprint straight after this call so we can digest it immediately. And we will, of course, be able to bring more input in from the region during the regional conference sessions Fiona and Uli will participate in. And additionally, we're going to use our community as a sounding board further as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lot of things, you know, so the difference of the previous one. I would say we are a little bit more into a known environment, because we embark into leadership journeys already years ago, and there is a lot of things here. For the sake of time, because I have 3 minutes to comment, and I have 2 pages of notes here now by listening to you. I need to pick up certain things. I would say one thing, first of all, is the topics. It means in terms of directionally, all the topics you raised are good. A lot of the things at the same time. What's very important is you highlighted the importance of going also developing our talents by moving across the organization. That means that we cannot be developing our own way of looking at talent and development within EMEA LATAM, because otherwise it's going to be, instead of being an asset, it's going to be a problem when you start to create and to bond with other part of the organization. So I also think, and I don't know how much you integrated, we deploy in February, we at Roche Diagnostic. Did you look at that when you look at what are the importance? And again, I would like to say, there is nothing normally, when I look at we at Roche Diagnostic, there is nothing that prevents anything that you mentioned to happen, with maybe only one caveat here, which is, I don't know what's your definition of total transparency of talent. Okay, it has pros and cons, the transparency, because it means we need to be able, when you see people being an assignment and moving, etc., everybody can say, oh, he's probably part of a list of talents. Okay. However, what's clear is somebody who is not in a move within Roche, you don't know. And that's the piece where we need to probably, have more transparency by facilitating movement, etc. But also it means, do we need, at division level, group and division, the definition of talent is one thing that serves the purpose of global roles, senior management, etc. What does it mean at affiliate level? And when we had the people practice that we introduced, 3 years ago, we came with something that was opposite to the talent pool. That was, everybody is potential talent. The question is talent for what? And we made clearly the distinction between leadership and technical experts. There is 2 ways you can develop, and it depends on the people ability. If you have appetite for leading teams, there is nothing to your point, Joanne, where when you said, I'm heading service, why can't I run marketing or sales? Yes, it's people management, okay? And then you can move. Other people they want to grow as talent by their expertise, okay? But they would not like to move from service to sales, or maybe they don't have this ability. They can grow vertically, but not horizontally, etc. But again, there is nothing that prevents that in the we at Roche Diagnostic. So I really encourage that you are on the right track here. There is nothing that I would say, don't go that direction, go deeper in this one. But maybe an advice and also an expectation. If we could narrow a little bit on what is most relevant for the success and the expectation of our people in the region. That's maybe one thing, and again, I say maybe it's in your plan. I don't know. Okay, but it's extremely important, and also it means just to put some recommendation on, and but also some advice by saying there is one thing you mentioned. For me, a talent was the mobility. In the past, mobility was something that was extremely attached to developing talents. You want to become a talent. You want to be in a talent pool that we, by the way, some sort of eliminated the concept of talent pool as such. It's about the individual, and then it will show me what you can do next. And there is what Roche can give to the talents, including all the coaching aspect, etc., mentoring that you refer to. But also it means what is the talent ready to bring at Roche to facilitate new experiences. Okay, it doesn't mean the point is the broader you look, the more opportunities you're gonna get. The more restricted you are, which can be for a time being, the less opportunity it's gonna bring in a foreseeable future. Just a mechanical thing, a mathematical thing, okay, of the number of opportunities. So it means keep going. You're on the right track. That's my point. Don't miss the chance to permanently check by looking, is it already incorporated in we at Roche Diagnostic, or is it something that we think should be more emphasized in our region? Okay, but I have nothing else to add. And you know, my stomach tells me it means what would be preventing, or what is already preventing certain of the things mentioned here happen? That I don't know. Your input is extremely, and cracking the nut, you know, the 80-20 job. It's not forbidden. It's not forbidden. You can do it. And I assume that, I don't know where it is, but we don't need to have GMs asking for permission doing that. So if it's not happening or not happening enough, why that? And that would be really the insight, because we can speak about it. At the end, that can help to liberate a little bit the practices. But there is not a single thing here that I would say, no, I don't see that. It will not fly. So good job, team.
Thank you.
Great news. Thanks a lot, Bernard. Highly appreciate it. And in case you want to send me your 2 pages of comments, might be helpful actually to go through that as well. Okay.
I can follow up if you want, you know, Uli, because it's really my handwritten, because I wanted, you know, I picked up some points where, but for the sake of time, I could not take all that, but they are.
So if your schedule allows, I would appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's fine. Fine, 30 minutes. I'm happy to follow up with you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks, team.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.